Hello everybody, blessed be. I just wanted to make this video trying to get more viewership, so I need to start, I guess, being more controversial. Oh, no, I'm kidding. Look, I'm making this video in response to Hearth Witch, her unpopular opinion series. I watched her series last night, and I've just been finishing off the unpopular opinion series tonight, and I'm getting to the point where I'm flicking. I just wanted to see a couple of opinions on TikTok to see if one matched mine, and the opinion I had was just totally, I don't know, confirmed by what I was seeing on TikTok and Instagram and YouTube, is that all the adult voices in the witchcraft community have just gone. So this is why I am calling this video, "We have a baby witch problem." It is a total fucking problem in this community that there are not enough adult voices talking to kids who want to start practicing the occult or magic or Wicca or witchcraft. There's not enough adult voices. When I was starting in my practice, when I started being a witch, I had adults guiding me. I didn't have other high school students my own age teaching me to put heavy metal crystals in my drinking water or to have an online coven when we're talking about something that is so old, sacred, and connected to ancestors, nature. I'm talking old, ancient, primeval type beliefs. And these baby witches, I don't know if they like to be called that. It's just what I'm calling them in this video for that sake. Because I don't want to say the kids. The kids are the problem. No. The baby witches are a total issue. And you've got people who are in their early 20s teaching 15, 16, 17, 18-year-olds about witchcraft and heavy topics such as, you know, sex magic and blood rites. And it's just ridiculous because we have this culture right now where anyone who tries to talk to kids about the S word is labeled a G word. So be very careful if you are in your early 20s and you're talking about sex magic, because to me, that's not a conversation to be had between you. That's something they can research in books or get straight from the source, okay? I could go on and on and on about sex magic, and maybe I'll touch on it one time or another. But the problem with these young witches who are coming into witchcraft and changing it as well, it's like this isn't a changing thing. This is something that is older than you. Don't come in and try to be political with your witchcraft. Don't come in and make it about your identity. And it's just this ridiculous notion that young witches are actually witches. I see a lot of people running to witchcraft and saying, well, it's so opening to everyone. Because when I started being a witch and I wanted to get initiated into a Gardnerian coven, a lot of Gardnerians told me that you couldn't be gay and be a witch, that you couldn't do this, couldn't do that. I had to go and find the Minoan Brotherhood who took me in. And I had friends I had a friend who was trans, couldn't go into a Dianic coven even though it was something that she loved the Dianic tradition. She could practice Dianic Wicca at home, but she couldn't go into a coven because no coven was willing to take someone who was a biological male. Don't tell me that witchcraft is all accepting, because there are sects of witchcraft, secular sects with a T, CT, sects of witchcraft that are not forgiving and are not opening. And the thing about witchcraft is that it used to be initiated only. It's a closed practice. A lot of things like Gardnerian witchcraft, which is a sister tradition to my craft, which is Siax Wicca, very much, very, very, very private. I don't understand people who criticize and say that Wicca is cultural appropriation when it's an initiated-based religion. How do you know anything about it? And the problem with these baby witches is that they come in, right? I've been taught by 20-year-olds on TikTok and 25-year-olds who've been in witchcraft for like 1 minute and telling them that this is how a practice is. I saw someone say, you need to go and get this crystal for this, and make sure when you're getting a wand that you only take sticks that have fallen to the ground, and blah, blah, blah. And it's just mind-boggling to me that people want to say things like, oh, I know witchcraft. Bitch, you don't know witchcraft. I've been here longer than you. I have been doing this for almost 15 years. And I can tell you for a hot minute that a lot of what I'm seeing on TikTok and Instagram is toxic bullshit. Toxic, literally toxic. Telling kids to put quartz crystals in their drinking water. Oh my God, that's fucking insane. The issue stems from this. This is the issue, okay? And I've said it before. When you got young 21-year-old witches on TikTok and Instagram telling kids to stay away from books written by Ray Buckland and Scott Cunningham, which are #1 New York Times bestsellers for witchcraft. These are the ones that are available in bookstores. You're telling them, oh, don't go near those books. Darling, don't go near those books. So they can learn from you? Like, I don't get it. You've been in witchcraft for a hot second, and you think that you had the knowledge that Scott Cunningham and Ray Buckland and Gerald Gardner had, that you think that your knowledge is expansive and as knowledgeable as Ray Buckland and Scott Cunningham and Margaret Murray and Dorian Valiente and all these beautiful, great Wiccan/witchcraft writers who actually had practices and were a form of some type of lineage of witchcraft. They don't know witchcraft as well as you because you've only been on this fucking planet for 21 years, honey. So how is it that you can teach kids about witchcraft and then say, well, you know, stay away from Ray Buckland books? How can you say that when these books are full of knowledge? I hate people who say, well, don't read those books because they're full of they're of their time. Witchcraft is literally the oldest religion ever. We call it the old religion. And it's just, it frightens me that these kids who get into witchcraft, get into spell work, literally have never gone to a green fucking field and put their feet in the mud. They've never frolicked on the sand, never sat on a sand dune on a beach, just listening to the waves hitting and communicated with Goddess. Literally never, ever understood what it was to just look up at the moon and say a prayer quietly. These kids have no connection at all to the cycle of to the circle of the year. They have no connection to deities because they're told that witchcraft doesn't have to be religious. They're told to ignore what people like me say because Melody over here, who goes by they, them pronouns and has a fucking nose piercing in her septum and dyed pink and green hair, knows more than people like me who have been in witchcraft more than a hot second. It is totally beyond me that anyone would encourage baby witches, young witches, to be so coddled by today's standards for a religion or a practice, because we don't call witchcraft a religion anymore, it's a practice. That we don't let them experience the primeval force of what witchcraft is. We don't even teach that anymore, guys. It's just, this is what you should do. Stir your morning coffee and think good thoughts. Like, are you fucking insane? Are you insane? Are you that inept that you cannot connect to nature, attune with just what it is to be whatever you are, male or woman, male or female, and say, oh God, I'm connected to Goddess. I feel it. Like, have you ever just thought, oh my God, I am connected to Goddess. I am one with her. I feel it when I, like, as someone who has a womb and has the power to create life, blah, 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 and all of that. You've never thought of that for a hot second. Instead, no, it's do this sigil in your notebook and you'll get an A++. And then when kids don't get the A++ from doing the sigil in their book, motherfuckers are like, well, this is stupid. I don't want to be part of this anymore. Blah. And then they think we're stupid because we're telling kids to draw sigils in their notepads at school to get A+, and then they don't get an A+, because they didn't apply anything. They didn't do anything to get an A+. They just drew a sigil and said, I'm going to ace this. They're not even being taught foundations of witchcraft. They're not even being taught the foundations of what it is, the circle of the year. They're not even being taught the foundations of what sympathetic magic is. They're not even being taught the foundations of what cavemen did to get a good feast. They would cast spells or perform sympathetic type of magic by telling stories and playing parts in stories where they would pretend to kill a wild boar in order to pray to the unknown Skyfather to help them hunt for food in the morning. You know, like these are just things that people like Ray Buckland and Scott Cunningham would write in books, but apparently that information's not as good as it used to be. We have to hear from Tabby, who has a master's degree in women's studies, talk about how Goddess is just, she doesn't have a gender. Like, fuck off. This is an old primeval type of, it's older than the Big Bang. Do you understand? These forces have been here longer than there's been fucking gravity. Do you understand? That's what we're trying to say. And you want to teach kids that, hey, it's okay to be a witch and have fun and do all this fancy shit when they haven't connected to anything that is witchcraft. And that's my unpopular opinion. I got very... I have so much to say about the way witchcraft is just portrayed in 21st century social media. Just makes it so difficult. Makes it so difficult to people to connect to the world outside their fucking phones or their computers. It is so difficult to a generation who spent most of their schooling in the past 4 years in quarantine inside, not being able to even breathe fresh air. It's difficult because I don't know if people agree with me or not. And it's sad because we're talking about something older than time itself. Before the sundial was even created, before the written word, before the spoken language. This is how old witchcraft is. This is how old the origins of paganism go back. They go before we even started learning to talk. And it's toxic that these baby witches, these kids, are being taught that to start in magic, you need a wand, an athame, and a chalice. They don't even know what the athame and the chalice represent. Do they know that the athame is a phallus? Do they understand that the chalice is a womb? And to put them in together is to symbolize the connection between man and woman. Help me understand why it is that we are so quick to jump into teaching kids the cool part of witchcraft that we forget that in order to be witch, one must know witch. It's fucking sad. And I didn't come into witchcraft to expect it to be like Charmed or Buffy or Harry Potter. I was told dead set from the man who taught me witchcraft. His name is Steve. He told me this is not just a walk in the park and boom, you're a witch. It's years of understanding who you are as a person, understanding how the world works around you. In order to manifest something into will, you have to know what will is. And I thank that man, wherever he is. He pops in every now and again. Steve, where are you? I feel like a connection with the divine is being lost in translation between a connection to what's cool and makes me look awesome and what's aesthetic and the feeling of affirmity. Like, oh, I'm being affirmed that I'm special because I practice witchcraft. And when people who watch this go, witchcraft, witchcraft is, it's like, because of people like this, who tell kids that witchcraft is all spellcasting and crystals and herbs and boiling babies in jars. Like, this is why we have the image of what we are now. And that's my unpopular opinion. You can practice whatever you want to practice. And you can do with your life whatever you want to do as long as it's not hurting someone, and at harm none, do what you will. That's my way of life. That's how I do everything. But you're not going to force me into a picture where I'm being viewed as something that's stupid and silly because the people around me who should know better make us look stupid and fucking silly. I think the majority of Wiccans are looking at people who are just witches and doing the, you alright? Because you're being a little extra. Where there's a lack of authority. we have no older people explaining how witchcraft works, because we've got young teenagers and 20-year-olds telling kids to not listen to Ray Buckland and Scott Cunningham. If you want someone who's young, hip and cool to listen to, I would look for Thorne Mooney's books. They're great. If you want to find something on witchcraft that starts at where you should be starting, I'm just looking at my thing right here, Wicca Made Easy by Phyllis Curott. Even if you're not going into Wicca, it's a good place to start. I read things like Kabbalah, and I'm not Jewish. Let's see. Buckland's Complete Book of Witchcraft. Absolutely mandatory to read if you are going into witchcraft. Wicca, A Guide for the Solitary Practitioner. Absolutely need that. There are books that are on Wicca and witchcraft that, regardless if they're about Wicca, are still about witchcraft. Because people who practice Wicca, who are older than, 21 years of age, knows that witchcraft, when they're talking about it, they're talking about Wicca. They're talking about British traditional witchcraft, which is what Wicca is. A lot of us don't like the term Wicca because you make us look like fluffy bunnies, which now baby witches just want to be like. Lord, give me strength.